This is a Fulcrum Side Quest Minisode. Short, focused opinions on psychology and storytelling, personal reflections, unscripted thoughts, maybe even some of your suggestions. Here's Fulcrum.
Welcome to Side Quests, a Minisode series from Dark Character Profiler. These are the detours, the hidden trails off the main path, where we explore the overlooked, the unexpected, and real-world psychological echoes. Let's get into today's side quest. Today's side quest minisode discussion is about why we misjudge intelligence in criminals. We talk about intelligence in crime as if it's something obvious. We label people as geniuses or dismiss them as stupid based on how a crime looks, how complex it seems, or how well someone can explain themselves afterward. But psychologically, intelligence doesn't work that way, and crime is one of the worst environments possible for accurately judging it. Why complexity fools us. A common assumption is that complexity equals intelligence. If a crime involves multiple steps, symbolism, or long-term planning, we tend to assume the person behind it must be highly intelligent. If a crime is impulsive, messy, or poorly explained, we assume the opposite. But complexity doesn't necessarily come from intelligence. It can come from obsession, repetition, copying ideas that already exist, or external guidance. At the same time, simplicity doesn't indicate low intelligence. Stress, fear, emotional overload, substance use, or desperation can dramatically reduce someone's ability to plan or reason clearly. Highly intelligent people can behave in very unintelligent ways when they're overwhelmed. What psychology actually means by intelligence? Intelligence isn't a single trait. It includes things like processing speed, working memory, abstract reasoning, and the ability to understand consequences. None of these are measured well during a crime. Crime is chaotic, emotionally charged, and often reactive. Judging intelligence based on criminal behavior is like judging someone's driving ability during a car crash. What you're seeing is performance under extreme conditions, not baseline ability. Why speech is a poor proxy for thinking. Another common mistake is confusing articulation with intelligence. People who speak confidently, use complex language, or tell coherent stories are often perceived as smarter. People who struggle to explain themselves, contradict themselves, or use simple language are often assumed to be unintelligent or deceptive. But the ability to communicate clearly is not the same thing as the ability to reason. Anxiety, fear, authority pressure, or cognitive limitations can all affect how someone speaks without reflecting their actual intelligence. This matters especially in interrogations, where confusion is often misread as guilt and inconsistency is treated as deception. Intellectual disability and misinterpretation. This misunderstanding becomes even more serious when intellectual disability enters the picture. Intellectual disability does not mean someone can't act, can't follow others, or can't be involved in complex situations. What it often affects is understanding consequences, resisting authority, maintaining a consistent narrative, and recognizing when someone is being manipulated. People with cognitive impairment are more suggestible, more likely to agree to things they don't fully understand, and more likely to be misjudged as lying when they are actually confused. This creates a dangerous paradox. Individuals with intellectual disabilities are often viewed as either too unintelligent to matter or secretly more intelligent than they appear. Both interpretations flatten real cognitive differences into stereotypes that are easier to digest but far less accurate. Why we like the smart villain story. So, why do we keep getting this wrong? Because the idea of the quote-unquote smart villain is comforting. It creates distance. It makes violence feel intentional and explainable. It allows us to believe there's a logic we could map if we tried hard enough. Randomness, impulsivity, and situational pressure are much harder to tolerate. So, we reward complexity, cleverness, and narrative coherence even when they aren't psychologically accurate. Conclusion: asking better questions. The problem isn't that we try to understand criminals. The problem is that we often use the wrong tools. Intelligence isn't proven by complexity, and confusion isn't evidence of deception. If we want to understand behavior, we have to separate intelligence, communication ability, and circumstance. Otherwise, we're not analyzing minds. We're just telling ourselves stories that feel safer than the reality. That's the end of this side quest minisode. Thank you for coming along with me on a journey off the beaten path. See you next time.
That's it for today's side quest. If you have any topic suggestions, send us an email at darkcharacterprofiler@gmail.com. Don't forget, Dark Character Profiler returns next week. Thank you for listening.